So it took us about a year to understand all the things that we just talked about, and there was not necessarily one agency even in charge of understanding all the things we talked about. There were hundreds for a company like AIG, several hundred regulators in dozens of different countries, all responsible for their little bit. And this is true of all of the major companies that you were hearing a lot about last fall: Citibank, Citigroup, Bank of America. They all have hundreds of regulators all over the place.
Right. And so meanwhile, while all these regulators are trying to watch the individual parts of the company, during the bubble years, the CDO machine, it was just cranking. There were almost $3 trillion of these things created, most of it in just a couple of years between 2003 and 2007. $3 trillion of CDOs. Wall Street banks, and the Wall Street banks, they weren't just stuffing pieces of mortgage-backed securities into CDOs, they were stuffing pieces of CDOs into CDOs. That's right, they were making CDOs out of other CDOs. And these were called CDOs squared. They were making synthetic CDOs, which were made out of CDOs, and then bets that other people had made against CDOs. I talked to a guy named Jim Finkel, who actually put CDOs together. He's an asset manager. Big investment banks would hire him. And one morning in the clip you're about to hear from him, he's about to use a word, that word is tranche. Tranche is just French for slice, and it simply means this. That is a tranche. Is that one level of that champagne contraption? That's called a tranche. Anyway, here's what Jim had to say about this whole CDO mania.
The investment banks were creating these hyper-complex and risky tranches and then putting them into other deals as collateral for new deals. And they were almost just doing some version of recycling, but which was really waste management. Taking the new product, making fees off of it, and putting it into a new deal. It was a huge kind of sausage factory, right, where they just had to keep moving everything out the door. Every deal would get, 1 or 2% fee. So let's just keep doing billions of dollars of deals, and that'll rack up the tens and 20s of millions of dollars in fees. I think Merrill Lynch made $700 million in CDO fees in 2006. That's just an enormous amount of money.
How many people is that going to inside Merrill Lynch?
That was going to, somewhere between, 50 and 80 people.
Now, Jim says that all that $750 million, some of that actually just went to the firm as profit, but he says that maybe $150 million went into this bonus pool, and that got distributed to this team of 50 to 80 people, and he says that the top guy probably brought home $10 to $15 million that year alone, which it occurred to me recently is probably more than I'll ever make in my entire life. And this, we talked to another guy, this says a Wall Street banker named Mike, who I also talked to, is actually part of the problem. Mike co-headed a structured credit desk for a European bank in New York. He was also making products similar to these CDOs, some slightly different, which we're about to talk about next. No, we're not, just joking. He made these things that are similar, and he said that the way some investment bankers were compensated was a big part of the problem. He told me and my partner Adam Davidson, our partner at Planet Money, you'll hear his voice on the tape, that the way he was paid, he was incentivized to think about short-term profits.
You're not incentivized to spend a lot of time thinking by yourself, what is the real risk here? Is there something that I'm missing? What's going to be the implication for the bank over the next 10 years? There is, unless I'm missing something, there is absolutely no incentive to do that.
Basically, it's an incentive to the extent that you can to sell riskier products as if they were less risky products. And if the actual risk happens to be high, you don't care.
Precisely. Absolutely precisely.
You have an incentive to go against the interests of the bank and its owners.
You have a direct incentive to go against the interests of the bank and the shareholders.
Now the problem is, by going against the bank, I'll let the music swell, sorry. The problem is, by going against the bank and its shareholders, these poorly incentivized traders cause problems for the rest of us as well. And to understand that process, I'm afraid we need to talk about bank balance sheets. And you guys decided to spend your evening this way, so don't blame us. All right. All right, but this will be quick, and I promise you this will be interesting too. So a bank balance sheet is really made up of two sides. On the one side is the bank's own money, that is called its capital. And then there's the money it borrows from people, that is called its liabilities. And on the other side is the money that it invests or loans out, that's called its assets. So, all right, that's the basic structure. Let's now start with the simplest bank in the world. Let's call it my bank.
Actually, I have a better name for it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's better. So, Hannah's bank, my bank. Let's start with my own bank. I have $10 of my own in this bank. And I need to go out there. I want to borrow about $90. I know a poor schmuck who's not going to make, more than, $15 million in his lifetime.
Exactly.
So, Alex, you want to be my first customer in my bank?
Well, I really wanted to be a bank owner, but fine. I will be your first customer.
Not right. This will be good for you because if you put your life savings, $90, in my bank, I will give you 3%. You can make money. I'll give you 3% interest.
All right. Sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. And by the way, this is why bankers call people like Alex liabilities, because if Alex wants to take his money back at some point, I have to give it to him and I have to pay him interest.
Right. She's liable to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So I look at this right now, and this kind of sucks, because I'm paying 3% interest, and I'm not making anything.
Whoa, sorry. Crap.
I'm just trying to ruin my bank
Sorry.
already. So 3% interest, I'm not making anything. I need to take this $100, and I need to loan it out, and I want to loan it out at a higher interest rate. So let's say someone in this room want to buy a house. I will sell you a house. And I will sell it to you at a higher rate of interest than what I'm making there. I will sell it to you at 6%. All right, so now we are in business. Things are working in my bank. I am getting 6% interest. I am paying out 3%. And in many ways, banking is just as simple. There is an old banking joke. Banking is a 3-6-3 business. You borrow at 3%, you lend out at 6%, and you're on the golf course by 3 in the afternoon.
And this basic structure, so we have some bankers in the audience, I see. This basic structure is true for every bank and financial institution in existence, from the tiniest rural credit union to Wall Street investment banks like Goldman Sachs, to the largest and most complicated financial institution ever in existence, Citigroup.